Hello and welcome to the third lesson of the course. Now we have our main shape. We have the body of the monster. You can see that it's looking pretty nice right now. It doesn't look like anything at all, but later on it will look very cool with the monster. Now it's time to create the arms and the feet of the monster. The feet are actually really simple to create. Just grab our cube and make this cube a little bit smaller. You can do that by clicking on the cube and selecting the object and decrease the size for it, maybe 50 for every size. I think this is fine, or maybe just a little bit, 75. Not too much. I think 60 is probably a good number. Okay, now let's make sure that it's right on the body of the monster, and to do that we're going to set our top view, and let's now take it to the middle just like this. Now go back to your perspective view and let's take it a little above so that it looks like fit. And now it's actually quite simple because all we have to do is to add some subdivision surface and bring our cube to this subdivision surface. And now let's add some more segments here on the y-axis, and you can see how it's starting to get into shape. We can add 3 segments into the y-axis, like this. And now select the same cube and make it editable. And now let's change a little bit with the Polygon selection tool. Grab this side and take it just a little bit to the right, and the left side take it a little bit to the left. Now what we did here is that we added a very simple cube, and we're adding something here because the feet shouldn't be so straightforward, so looking like a cube, but I want them to have like a little roundness here on the bottom, because that way it will make them look a little cuter. Do the same for the front and the back, and if you want you can make it a little bit more pronounced here on the bottom. And now take the whole shape and take it a little bit higher. Let's see how it looks. Okay, and now it's time to duplicate this. Let's call this left foot. But first, instead of having this subdivision surface, we're not going to need any of this. So take the subdivision surface and press C to make it editable. Now you can take the cube off the subdivision surface because you can see that it's now only one shape. And let's call this left foot because we're going to have a lot of things here on the objects panel, so we need to keep things very organized, and the best way to do that is to rename everything. Now let's go back to our top view, and now with this left foot selected we're going to press Ctrl C and Ctrl B to copy and paste. Now let's take the right foot here and let's call this right foot. Now go back to your main view. Okay, now we can maybe bring them a little bit closer. Like this. And now we have our feet. If you want, you can take both foot and go to coordinates and add a little bit more scaling to the Z-axis so that they are a little bit bigger. Yeah, I think this is enough. Now you can take both fit and right click on them and click on group objects, and we will have only one object, and let's rename this as fit. Okay, that's it then for the fit. Now it's time to create the arms, and this part is really fun to create. We're going to create the arms using the spline wrap, the splines and the spline wrap here on Cinema 4D. So in case that you don't know how to use this spline and spline wrap, I'm going to teach you how to create something cool with this effect. Now, the splines are like the vector path on Illustrator. You can see that we have here freehand, Bezier, B-spline, linear, cubic, Akima, and we have a bunch of other path shapes. For example, if I take Bezier, I can draw a path just like we can do it on Illustrator or Photoshop. Now you can close this path too, and then this spline, you can do anything with this spline. You can, for example, if you add an extrude generator and drop the spline into the extrude, you will have a shape here, a weird shape, and you can do a lot of things with the splines. In this case, what we're going to create is the arms of the monster. And how do we do that? Now, I will show you how to create a spline wrap. First, let's go to the right view. I think this works. And I'm going to create a very simple path here on this point. A very simple path, just like this. And now if we take a look at our view, you can see that we have a path here standing on the middle of our viewport. Now, right now it's nothing. If we press Ctrl and R for the preview render, we will see nothing at all, because this is just a path, this is just a spline, so it's nothing at the moment. But if we want to turn this spline into a shape, it's actually very simple to do that. Now, let's take our capsule. We will take a capsule. You can see this nice shape. We have this capsule, and now we're going to select here on the deformers, we're going to select a deformer called Spline Wrap. And what this spline wrap does is that it creates a wrapping into one of the splines, the spline that we select. For example, I'm going to add this spline wrap into the capsule. Make sure that the spline wrap it becomes a child of the capsule object. Drop it here, and you can see that it has like this purple rectangle here inside of the capsule. That means that the spline wrap is acting. Now, if you click on the spline wrap, you can see that we have a lot of things here. On the object tab, we have spline, rail, axis, strength, offset, from and to. Now, on the spline, you must select what spline we're going to be using as a spline wrap. So we're going to take this spline, and you can drop it here on the spline wrap object tab. If you do that, you can see that the capsule, it's now going to become the wrapping for the spline that we created before. Now, if we want this shape to look good, we can change the axis from the x-axis to the y-axis. And now you can see that the shape, the spline, has become an object because it's using the capsule as the wrapping for this spline. So you can do great things with it. You can create cool typography, cool 3D typography, like handwriting on Cinema 4D by doing this with the capsule and the spline wrap. This is really simple to create, and we can do many wonderful things with it. In this case, we're going to draw an arm for our monster. So let's begin with from the beginning, and we're going to select our right view, and we're going to be here, and of course the arm should be from this point to outside, because this monster will be like juggling with some balls here. So we're going to create our, let's take the Bezier tool, and we're going to create a spline that goes from this point to maybe can be this point, and it will have a little curve here, not too much, just a little bit. Now we have the spline here. Perfect. Now you can change this display to growth shading. Let's see how it looks on our perspective. Okay, right now the spline is on the middle of the monster, so I'm going to take it to the right. And now let's go to our right view. We have the spline here. Now remember, create a capsule. Don't worry about placing it somewhere. We won't need it as an object, but as a spline wrap. Now create a spline wrap and place it inside of the capsule. Now let's take this spline and drop it here on the spline wrap. Now you can see that this has become an arm, but right now we need to fix the axis to the y-axis. Now if we take a look at this, you can see how it looks. Now right now it's too big, so we need to go to the capsule and we need to decrease the radius, maybe to 20, and we need to decrease the height so that the shape doesn't look weird here on the top part. Okay, now we have created the arm, but right now you can see that the 2 points, the 2 edges of this shape are the same size. So I want this, the part of the hand, or where the hand is supposed to be, I want it to be bigger. So to do that, we're going to select the spline wrap, and we're going to open this size here, and you can see that we have a little bit a little graphic here. If I take this handle to the bottom, you can see that the beginning of the spline, which is this one, is really small. So I don't want it to be so small, I just want it to be a little bit smaller than the hand, and the end of the hand, which is this one, this handle, I can do it like this. I can take this handle and create just a little curve just like this, so that this becomes the hand. So you can see how cool it looks. Maybe this is even a little bit bigger, and we can see that we now have a very nice shape where the arm starts a little thinner than the rest of the hand. The part of the arm, the tip, is wider than the rest. Here, let's add some more height segments, a little bit of heightness, so that it isn't so pointy. Okay, this is fine. Maybe a little bit less. And you can add some more segments so that this shape is smoother. And now we have created our first arm. Now it's just a matter of attaching it to the body, because right now you can see that this doesn't look good. So if we want to attach this arm to the body, it's actually very simple. Just go to the spline itself and select the point mode, and now just grab the first point, which is this one, and take it a little bit to the left. You can see that we can deform the spline like this. So I want it to be deformed a little bit to the right, maybe this point a little bit to the right too, and just make sure that this arm looks like it is attached to the body. Okay, we're doing good. Now it's time to create the left arm, because right now all we have is the right arm. We can group these objects and call this right arm. Now let's create a duplicate by pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl B and changing to this point. Okay, now we need to fix some things. Let's make sure that it's right here. Okay, now let's open the group and select the spline, and now instead of going to the left with this point, let's make it go to the right. And now this point, he will be juggling with some balls here, so I don't want the hands to be on the same place. I want this hand to be a little bit higher, just like this. And maybe this arm can be just a little bit lower, like this. Okay, and let's make sure that the arm looks attached to the body, just a little bit. Okay, now we have the two arms for our monster. You can see that this part is really fun to create. I love working with the Spline Wrap because you can create wonderful things with it. You can create a very nice 3D typography with some handwriting that looks handwriting, and you can create some shapes, like for example if you want to create maybe a snake or something, you can create it by creating the splines and then attaching a shape with the spline wrap. So there's no telling what wonderful things you can create with this awesome tool. Now let's change this to left arm, and let's group them both into one simple group called arms. So now we have the arms and the feet for our monster. Now on the next lesson we're going to be sculpting the face of the character and adding some nice personality to our little cute monster. So see you on the next lesson.